Shalom. So I wanted to start um, this episode off talking about what exactly I mean whenever I refer to Rashi and the Midrash and things like that, because as we're going through this, obviously you're starting to see, um, you know, oftentimes I'll say, go look at Rashi. So what exactly that means, so let's well, let me introduce you to Rashi. This is the traditional picture of Rashi that we have. He was a rabbi. The dates they have here is from, he was born February 22nd, 1040, so almost 1,000 years ago. Died July 13th, 1105. Not sure exactly where those dates come from, but so Rashi wrote a commentary on the Bible and the Talmud. And that commentary is basically a collection of pretty much everything Jews, it's, I would say it explains what Judaism teaches. So it's one of the things we really turn to anytime we have a question. And a lot of people, when you look at the Bible, it's printed. Most editions will print Rashi alongside the Bible to kind of explain it. And to really understand this interaction between the what we call in Judaism the oral law and the written law, right? The two, basically, you would kind of call it the two halves of Judaism. And people make a mistake of thinking that Jews somehow think of the oral law as more central than the Bible itself, which I think is kind of silly. Yes, the oral law is really, really important. And the reason why it's really important is because the written law tells us that it's really important. So the two most famous examples, Exodus 25:40, talking about the menorah. You can look that chapter up, but specifically the line 25:40 in Exodus, right? Ur'eh va'aseh bitavnitam asher ata mar'eh bahar. Okay, so what does that mean? And see to it that you make them according to the pattern which you was shown on the mountain, right? So how is the menorah supposed to look? It's supposed to look the way the picture that God showed at Har Sinai on the mountain was to Bezalel. And the only way, I mean, that picture, we don't have that picture, obviously. And it's something that has been handed down from generation to generation. And actually, I mean, so these are the types of things which come from the oral law. These, anytime you're practically, you actually have a scripture that you care about, it has to be understood within its context, with its commentaries, with everything that goes along with it. The other famous verse, Deuteronomy 12:21, and it's talking about slaughtering animals, right? And it says, "Ki yirchak mimecha hamakom asher yivchar havaya elokecha lasum shamo sham vezavachta mibekarcha umitzoncha asher natan havaya lecha kaasher tziviticha va'achalta b'sharecha b'chol avat nafshecha, right? And I'm not gonna I'm not gonna translate the whole verse. You can go look at it yourself. It's Deuteronomy 12:21. But it says when you're slaughtering the animals, yeah, right? You're slaughtering the animals which God gave you. Do it, right? Ka'asher tziviticha, the way I have commanded you, right? And so, where is that, right? Where are those commandments? Well, obviously, these are traditions that were handed down. And even when you look at the scroll itself, right? Everything, you want to look at the scrolls of the Bible as they were made. There are traditions on how to make those scrolls. There were traditions how to read them. There were cancellations. There were vocalizations. Everything that goes along with that. So the oral law is an integral part, and has always been an integral part of the written law, and basically every sect, specifically the Sadducees and the Sadducees and the various forms, right, that denied the oral law or said that the oral law should not be important, they all stopped keeping the scripture as well, because it's. I mean, when you're serious about it, if you're serious about the written law, you have to take notice of the history, of how it was handed down, of everything that goes along with it, and that is the oral law. Okay, so there are various, there have been through Jewish history many people, many disagreements, many sects, just as every religion has had, of um, people who disagreed about what exactly those traditions were, how they should be kept, and the traditions that we have now, like, right, the Masorah, we're looking at the Masoretic text, the Masorah, the traditions, the oral law that we have. So pretty much, I would say almost every Jew who is alive today, who considers themselves a Jew and practices Judaism, they descend from the Pharisees, the Perushim, that tradition, the Rabbanim, the rabbis, and because everyone who disagreed, basically they've ceased to exist, right? And those people. So I'm gonna introduce you to the historical, how this showed up, and you can look at the rabbinical periods on Wikipedia. I mean, I'm not sure how much I'm going to agree with the things that Wikipedia says, but generally this timeline is kind of correct. And obviously we're talking about the Common Era here, right? And so you'll see around 1500 is where you have the break between what we call the Rishonim, right? Rishon meaning first, the first ones, and Acharonim, the latter ones, right? And the Acharonim are the people are considered modern rabbis, and there are so many different disagreements, and there are sects and stuff. What has universally been accepted among pretty much everybody who's Jewish these days comes after that 15, up to 1500, everybody who's Jewish now pretty much agrees, and honestly, closer to 1700, I would say, everybody who's left still agrees that the Jewish tradition continued how the Jewish how the Jewish tradition continued until at least the 1600s, right? And then, so now, again, just like there were various forms and sects that existed at previous times, there are various forms and sects that exist at this time. And the difference is nobody can claim, look, everybody else died out, everyone else must have been wrong, because obviously Judaism is a promise that we are going to be able to live generation by generation until the Messiah comes, obviously. So one thing I want to note is that in Judaism we have what's called Yeridat Hadorot, which means the descending of the generations. Okay, so all the way back to Moses and Mount Sinai, Moses was the first real rabbi, right? And we believe as we get further away from Mount Sinai, the more we become distanced from that miraculous giving of the Torah, the less we understand, the less we are capable of explaining the Torah. We have Yeridat Hadorot. We have a descending, right? So each generation of these rabbinic periods is considered one step below the other ones. And so this, they differentiate on Wikipedia between the Zugot and the Tanaim. Generally, I would say most Jews talk about the Tanaim, including the Zugot. That seems kind of like a Wikipedia innovation, kind of. I mean, you can look into it. So the Tanaim were the sages of the Mishnah. And what changed at the time of the Tanaim is that before the Tanaim, Judaism, because we had the oral law and the written law, we actually were very careful not to write down the oral law to distinguish it from the written law, right? So that people wouldn't mistake, and it is obviously a mistake to confuse the two, right? The written law is what was given to us through prophecy by the prophets in its written form, to be written and to stay how it was, whereas the oral law is a much more fluid thing, and it's something that was handed down, just like, how do you make a menorah? Well, the same way that the person who was making the menorah before teaches you, in kind of an apprenticeship. How do you do shchita? Well, the person who did shchita before you, he teaches students how to do it, right? These are things that are taught orally, one person to the other as students. And what happened during the time of the Tanaim is that the rabbis realized that this form of, that people were forgetting. Honestly, that people were forgetting the teachings. And this is something we see that the Mishnah discusses, right? The Mishnah is a compilation of the teachings of the rabbis of that time of the oral law. And they said, it's not so much a prohibition to write down the oral law as it is an impossibility. And so Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, right? He's referred to as Judah the Prince, right? The term Nasi is translated as prince. So Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi compiled what's called the Mishnah. There were other compilations of rabbinic sayings at the same time, including what's called the Tosefta, which are other sayings similar to what's in the Mishnah. There are things which were collected in other ways, including in the Gemara itself, the Talmud. The Talmud is kind of an explanation of the Mishnah. So there were, we call them braitas, right? Braitas are other sayings at the same time. And there were midrashim, which were stories. And so you'll see if you're looking in the Rashis, it'll oftentimes talk about Midrash Rabbah. These are collections of sayings about the Bible, about Jewish tradition. And all of these come from the time of the Tanaim, right? When Judaism started writing down, because they were being forgotten, things that used to be memorized, right? And memorizing the Mishnah is actually it's also a song. It's made to be memorized, and there are certainly, I think even today there are people who memorize the whole of the Mishnah. It is very long. If you are interested in the Mishnah, my recommendation is to start with what's called Mishnah Avot. That's the segment of the Mishnah I would start with if you are interested in looking into it. Avot means the fathers, and it's usually translated as sayings of the fathers, right? So it's the segment of the Mishnah which is named Avot, which is named fathers. And sayings of the fathers is the usual translation. You can find translations in English, and it is written in Rabbinic Hebrew, which is very close to biblical Hebrew. There's also some Aramaic in it as well, especially towards the end. But if you want to get a taste for the Mishnah, I would start there. And so that was the generation when the oral law started to be written down. And the Mishnah is available. It's a classic Jewish text. It's available. Sefaria, I mentioned before. I think even Chabad might have a full translation of the Mishnah, not the Gemara. Okay, so that's the Mishnah. And then the next generation, which they're splitting into the Saboraim and the Amoraim, right? So Amora, it comes from to say, right? Amor, we've been coming to a lot of times, and those are the sages of the Talmud, of the what's called the Gemara, right? So the Talmud includes the Mishnah, which is that body of teachings that Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi put together, and the Talmud is a commentary. That's where you get the debates, right? And generally, especially people who are trying to find things offensive in Judaism, they often try to go into the debates among the Amoraim, right? Because anytime you're debating, you end up with disagreements. So and some contentious issues and things like that. So that's usually where people go digging for things to hate about Judaism. But so the Gemara, which really is the Talmud itself. So the Mishnah is included, and the Gemara is that next generation of rabbis who debated the various things from the Mishnah and Tosefta and Braitas and other sources. And all of that is available online. actually in English. Sefaria, that website I showed before, has the whole Talmud available in English. And it's, I mean, you know somebody is being silly and lying to you when they say, "Oh, I've read the Talmud." If you've read the Talmud, you're an idiot. Sorry to be blunt about it. There is no such thing as reading the Talmud because it is a transcript of debates, and it is in shortened form. So like if you do go look at the translations, you'll see there's a lot of explanations within it, and that's actually one of the things that Rashi contributed. So um, that's part of it. Okay, so we had the sages of the Mishnah, and then the next step down are the sages of called the Amoraim, right, of the Gemara. Then there was a period of rabbis we called the Geonim, and during that period, we don't have a lot of writings, we don't have a lot of things from that era. Probably, I would say the most famous Gaon was Sadia Gaon, right? So you can look him up. We don't have much writing from them. But at that time, the Gaonim were able to teach directly out of the Talmud, and that was fine, and that worked until we got to the period of the Rishonim, and that's the period where you have Rashi, you have what we call the three pillars of halacha of Jewish law: Maimonides, the Rif, Rabbeinu Alfas, Yitzchak Alfas, and the Rosh Rabbeinu Asher, whose son, he's referred to as Tur. I forget what his name was, but he made a version of the first version of what became the Shulchan Aruch, which is the code of Jewish law. But so these and the other very important Rishon, probably you may have heard of, is Nachmanides, right? Rabbi Moses Nachmanides, Moses ben Nachman. His father's name was Nachman. His name was Moshe, so he's Rabbeinu Moshe ben Nachman, the Ramban, often called, or Nachmanides, and I believe that comes from the Greek. And the Rambam, right, Maimonides, and he died around 1204. So he made what's called the Mishneh Torah. That's his most famous work, the Mishneh Torah, which is a restatement, a compilation of the final rulings from the Talmud. So basically, if you want to refute the silly things that people say about, Jews want to kill everyone, or silly things that they say, best place I would say to go is the Mishneh Torah, because that is one of the most authoritative, compilation of all of the results of the debates in the Torah, in the Talmud. Sorry, the Mishneh Torah by Maimonides. So that is those are the Rishonim, and basically every Jew today agrees that all of the Rishonim are part of that history that we have. And then the generation of the Achronim, which is the generation that the Rabbinic period, were in, are so the early ones, like the Shulchan Aruch, right, the Code of Jewish Law by Rabbi Yosef Cairo, and the Ramah, Rabbeinu Moshe Isserles. So those are pretty much universally accepted, and we had the breakup within within Judaism, which has led to the various sects and everything like that. And honestly, I'm not sure that's something you would be interested in as somebody who's looking into the Torah. But I wanted to explain to you how the Masorah has been handed down to what we have today, right? Back that's that around the time, a little bit before, a little bit after the time of Jesus, right? During his time, during that time, there were various sects. The three most famous would be the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the Essenes. The Essenes are the people who from Qumran who the Dead Sea Scrolls are from them, and generally it's kind of believed that they were the ones who were closest to the sect which Jesus was involved with. The Sadducees were the elite. They were the priests. They were the Kohanim. They had control of the temple at that time. And one thing Rabbinic Judaism and Christianity agree on pretty. One of the things we're all agreed on is that the Sadducees, that the priests at the time were very corrupt, and they acted as a cat's paw. They were of the Romans. And basically all of those, the people who were involved with the Essenes, with the Sadducees, the various sects that existed at that time, basically all of them died off. And what was left were those rabbis, are the descendants of the rabbis, which we refer to as the Tanaim, okay? Or Chazal, or sages, or scribes. They were also known as the Sofrim, the scribes, and the Pharisees, the Perushim, and that's the tradition that exists today, right? So a lot of times when people are talking about the Jews of their time, of the time of the Gospels, that are described in the Gospels, they're talking actually mostly about the leadership, which were the Sadducees, which were the Tzdukim, and those people have died off. The Sadducees are pretty much gone. There are some very small communities, like a handful of communities, and most of those communities are actually kind of blending into the greater Jewish community and leaving that behind. I would be surprised if people who are like, no, I am a Sadducee, and I number in the hundreds. So what is left is the Pharisees, the Perushim. And I was actually talking to a friend of mine who is a Christian minister who may be actually joining us on here, especially if anybody has questions that they specifically want to address to a Christian minister, somebody who believes in Jesus like he does. Feel free to ask in the comments, and I will ask him to come answer them. Very knowledgeable guy, and a good friend of mine. So that is an introduction into what I talk about, whenever I say Rashi, or I say Midrash, or the rabbinic traditions, right? What has been passed down, rabbinic Judaism. So basically, we're talking about the descendants of what the Gospels refer to as the Pharisees, right, or the scribes, and at the time of that the Gospels, the Christian Gospels, are describing, those people were actually pretty much not in leadership positions. They certainly existed, mostly among the common people, I believe. And I don't want to interpret the Christian Gospels for you, but whenever they're talking about the priests or the people who control the temple or anything like that, the Sanhedrin. So the Sanhedrin that was sitting in the temple was not the Sanhedrin that the scribes thought was legitimate. That was a separate, there was disagreements, and the Pharisee. So the Jews who are alive today are the intellectual descendants of the Pharisees, who and the Sanhedrin, which the Pharisees were thought was legitimate, stopped meeting in the temple before that time. And that's why you'll see in the Gospels, the leader of the Sanhedrin is also the high priest, which is a silly thing that I'm not sure ever happened, because the high priesthood was inherited, and being a rabbi is not inherited. It is something that you have, being a leader of the scribes is something that comes from your own ability that cannot be inherited. And so two very different positions, which obviously the Tzedukim, the Sadducees, thought were actually coincided, and that was actually one of the big that's the other thing I was going to mention. One of the big disagreements actually started during the time of the Hasmoneans. You'll see that so if you've ever looked at the Apocrypha, a lot of people don't know what the difference is between what we call the Bible proper, the Hebrew Bible proper, and the Apocrypha. So the Apocrypha are all the writings that the Sophrim, that the rabbis decided were not worthy of being considered the Bible, the holy writings, the written law. Okay, and so you'll see the book of Hasmoneans, which talks about the Maccabees and Hanukkah and everything around there. So because the Hasmoneans, they were actually priests, and they while they did rule, and there were miracles in their time, there were already disagreements with the rabbis, with the Perushim, and there was that separation between the scribes and the priests, so maybe getting too much into Jewish history for our purposes, but I just thought it's a good little introduction, especially whenever I talk about Rashi. You might wonder, like, who's this Rashi guy? So he's one of the early rabbis who collected, who made a commentary on the Bible, and it's available on the Chabad website. You'll see, when you go to the Bible, it'll have Rashi available to you in the English here on the left and the original Hebrew here on the right. And you can hide it or show it. It's up to you. And then, for example, he gets his things from Bereshit Rabbah, right? Genesis Rabbah. So that is a midrash from the time of the Tanas, right? Or Midrash Tanhuma. That's also from the time of the rabbis. Let me see if there's anything else. Again, Genesis Rabbah, Bereshit Rabbah, Bereshit Rabbah. So this, let's see, Isaiah, Bereshit Rabbah again. So I guess in this chapter specifically, Rashi's quoting a lot from Bereshit Rabbah, and sometimes he will Okay, so like here he says Agadic Midrashim, right? So the Agadic Midrashim are also, anytime we're talking about Midrash, we're generally talking about the rabbis of that Tanaim time period. Okay? Um, okay, so let's start off talking about this week's chapter, and this is the traditional picture of Rashi. Of course, it's pretty impossible to tell if it's an actual picture of Rashi. This is a picture of the traditional depiction of the Rambam Maimonides. Uh, okay, so let's start on chapter 5. Bereshit, chapter 5, verse 1. זה ספר תולדות אדם ביום ברו אלוהים אדם בדמות אלוהים עשה אותו. Okay, so זה, this, okay, so pronoun masculine singular. Sefer, so you'll see that the root is samech pe resh, which is actually to say. So a sipur is a story. Beit Sefer is, so Sefer, we say, is a scroll, the Sefer Torah. Beit Sefer is a library. And this is something that comes up a lot. So I might have translated it as a scroll, or book, or you could say it is a story, right? And it's, so here it's in construct form with Toldot Adam. So this is, which the Toldot is also in the construct, right? So we had Toldot actually before, right? The generations, Toldot Adam. So this is the book, scroll, story of the generations of Adam, and you can translate that as a proper name, or you could actually translate it as man. Bet yom, right? So that's the prepositional bet. There is no article. It's bet yom, and yom is written bemilui. It's written completely with the vav in the middle, right? Bet yom bero, right? And they're calling this the infinitive. So the root is bet resh aleph, right? Bara, like we've had before, but this is a baro, right? The creation. Shem Elokim, right? We've had that many times before. Bero Elokim Adam, man. Bedumut, so prepositional bet. Demut is in the construct form. Domeh means to be similar, and we had demut, I believe, in the first create. Right, God says, "Let us create us in our likeness," right, in our image. So here it's similar. I would say the root is Dalet Mem He. Is that what they have here in the concordance? No, yeah, Dalet Mem He, I guess. This other thing. Okay, so Damut, and it's in the construct form. So Besmichut, Demut Elokim, right? So the likeness of God, and we've had that name before, Elokim. Excuse me. Asa, so we've had, excuse me, Asiya before, the root ayin sin he, right? To make, to do. Asa oto, and so ot, right? Et is the direct object marker, and the vav at the end makes it into third person masculine. Okay, God made him. So let's see what King James does with this. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. Okay? Sorry about that. Let's go to the NIV. This is the written account. So, I like account. I'm not sure I like written account. I probably would say this is the account of Adam's family line. Okay. When God created mankind, so they're translating Adam differently in the same sentence. He made them in the likeness of God. I think that he should be capitalized because we are talking about God. Let's see what Chabad does with this verse. This is the narrative of the generations of man. On the day that God created man, in the likeness of God, he created them. And they capitalize the he correctly. As usual, I prefer Chabad. Okay, next verse. Zachar unekeva bara'am vayivarech otam vayikra et shemam Adam beyom hibara. Very interesting sentence. And the Samach is Stuma, telling you that there is a when you look inside the scroll, there is a space after this sentence, and the space doesn't go all the way to the end of the line. Okay, so this is very similar to the previous time we had. I believe it was either chapter 2 or 3, where we talked about God, about Adam and Eve being together, androgynous, right? So Zachar means masculine. The root Zayin Chaf Resh also means to remember, right? Zachar u nekeva, right? And usually the root is considered to be, I think, nun kuf bet. Nun kuf bet is how they're doing it, so nun kuf bet is literally pierced. Okay, having a hole in it, obviously referring to female, like we do when we talk about a female cable, right? A male cable and a female cable, right? Or a female socket, right? Nekeva, right? Literally pierced, but means female. Bera'am, so the root is bet resh aleph, the creation here, or bria, and the mem at the end is the third person masculine plural, right? Created them in their creation. Vayivarech, conjunctive vav, right? And so you'll see in the vav gets translated in many different ways, and it's up to you. You don't necessarily always have to do and. Sometimes it's but, sometimes it's so, but vayivarech, so the yud is telling you that this is imperfect, and bet resh chaf is to bless, vayivarech, right? So this is an incomplete action. This is an imperfect action. So you could say it's continuous action. Vayivarech, and he blessed. Otam, the third, the direct object marker with the mem at the end. It's the third person masculine plural. Otam, them, right? He blessed them. Vayikra, we've had many times. Conjunctive vav. The yud tells you it's imperfect. The root is kof resh aleph, to call. Et, direct object marker. Shemam, so shem is noun name we've had many times. Shemam, their name. The mem sofit at the end is theirs, right? So third person masculine plural. Shemam, and he called their name Adam. So this is a really important point here, and at least in Judaism, God calls them man, right? So Adam and Eve were masculine and feminine. They were made in the image of God, and they together are called Adam, are called man, right? So, and this is part of how Judaism derives that a complete human being is a is man and wife together, right? That you can't, a human being is only half of a soul without being married, which some people might not like, but that is the Jewish interpretation of this here. Be yom hibaram. So prepositional bet, yom, day, is written in with milui. It's written in completeness with the vav there. Hibaram, right? So and this is nif'al, meaning it's in the passive, right? So the root is bet resh aleph. The hey at the beginning says caused them to be created, right? When God caused them, behibaram, right? God caused them, and the mem at the end is the third person masculine plural. In the day that God caused them to be created. Let's look at King James, verse 2. Male and female created he them. That he should be capitalized. I don't know why they're not, and blessed them and called their name Adam, right? He called their name, plural, Adam, in the day when they were created. Not bad. And the NIV, he created them male and female and blessed them. And he named them mankind when they were created. Let's see what the note here is. Hebrew Adam, right? Yes. So Adam refers to a whole human being, masculine and feminine, together. Okay? Next, let's look at Chabad. Male and female, he created them, and he blessed them, and he named them man, in parentheses, Adam, on the day they were created. And once again, I prefer Chabad. Okay. Verse 3. Vayechi Adam 30 shana vayoled bidmuto ketzalmo vayikra et shemo Shet. Okay, so let's go through it. Conjunctive vav. So the root here is chaya, chetz, yud, hey, I would say. The yud at the beginning is telling you that it's in the imperfect, right? And the hey at the end, being guttural, has absconded. Vayechi, so, and lived, right? Adam, and here I think we're talking about Adam proper. Shloshim, right? So shalosh, shin, lamed, shin, that's 3. Shalosh is 3. Shloshim is 30, right? So yeah, shloshim is 30. Ma'at, so conjunctive vav, and this is ma'a, me'a, mem, aleph, hey in the construct form. mea meaning 100, but in the construct form, in the smichut, with shana. And shana means year. I think we've had that before. Shin nun he. So ma'at shana, 100 years, right? Shloshim, shloshim u'ma'at shana vayoled. So conjunctive vav. This, for some reason, is actually written b'milui. That vav is a little bit strange to me. Vayoled and was born, and he begat, right? Vayoled, and he caused to be born, right? They're saying hefil. It's in the hefil form of to be born, which is the hefil is the causative in you feel is the causative, right? I think, yes. The yoled, right? And he caused to be born. Bidmuto, again, the prepositional bet, and demut is again in the construct form in the smichut, right? Bedumuto, and it's actually written bemilui. We're having a lot of vavs in this chapter so far, which could possibly not have been there, but they are there, and you can interpret that as you wish. Bedmuto, his demut, his likeness, right? In his, so they're translating it his own likeness, right? And this obviously is referring to Adam. Ketzalmo, right? And this is the prepositional kaf, meaning like, or they're translating here after. Tselem, we've had before, tzadi lamed mem, right? Tselem. We had Tselem Elohim, right? We had the image of God, Tselem Elohim, and Demut and Tselem, I guess, can be, they are in essence synonyms, but they are different words which mean similar things. Ketzalmo, right? The vav at the end is saying his, right? Third person masculine singular. Vayikra, so conjunctive vav, the yud telling you that it's in the imperfect, and the root is kuf resh aleph. Et is the direct object marker. So, and he called et Shem-O, Shem meaning name, the vav at the end, his name, and the name in English is Seth. In Hebrew, it's Shet, Shin Taf, or actually Ashkenazim will say Shes, Chase. Okay, Seth. Let's look at King James. And Adam lived 130 years, and begat a son in his likeness, and after his image, and called his name Seth. Okay, let's see NIV. When Adam had lived 130, and they actually use the numbers, which is interesting, years, he had a son in his own likeness. I actually like that he had a son as opposed to begat, better, in his own image, and he named him Seth. Okay, let's see what Chabad does. Verse 3. And Adam lived 130 years, and he begot in his likeness after his image, and he named him Seth. Okay, verse 4. ויהיו ימי אדם אחרי הולידו את שת 800 שנה ויולד בנים ובנות. Okay, so we're conjunctive vav. Yehyu is from the verb to be, which obviously is a very difficult verb, but so the yud at the beginning is telling you that it's in the imperfect. The vav at the end is telling you that we're talking in the third person masculine plural, referring to shana, right, year, which strangely shana is masculine even though it ends with a hey. Vayihyu, and were, I guess. Yemei, so this yam here is in the smichut, in the construct form with Adam. Yemei Adam, the days of Adam, in one construction. Adam, Achare, and Achare is, again, it's in the smichut, it's in the construct form. Achar, meaning after, Achare, kind of, they're saying it's just a preposition. Achare, holido, right? And so, hefil of, to cause to be born, holido, et shet. So et is the direct object marker. The name Seth, shin taf. Shmone, right? Shmone is the number in the feminine singular of 8, is the number 8. Shmone, me'ot. So this is hundreds, written bechisaron. This is the first time I've seen something written in this chapter, I think, bechisaron, written without the vav when you would generally expect it there, right? Me'ot shana. Okay, so maybe I was wrong. Maybe shana is in the feminine, which makes you wonder why veyihyu is in the masculine. So they're saying here shana is feminine, which maybe I'm sorry, I'm not the best person to keep track of which nouns are masculine, which ones are plural. Are feminine. Me'ot shana, so 800 me'ot shana. Vayoled, so conjunctive vav. The yud is telling you that it's in the imperfect. That vav, it's written b'milui, it's written with that vav there. Vayoled, and he begat, he caused to be born, banim, which means sons, right? It's the plural of ben, of son, and uvanot, sons and daughters. And possibly I would say it's emphasizing that there were also female children, but you might also say that it's actually, it sounds good, euphonic reasons, banim uvanot, right? And yoled, banim uvanot, it sounds better as a song, and like I keep on saying, the Bible is a song. It is meant to be sung. Okay, let's look at King James. And the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. Okay, NIV. After Seth was born, Adam lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters. So I don't know where they got the other from. I don't know where they got other from. Let's see what Chabad does it with it. And the days of Adam after he begot Seth were 800 years, and he begot sons and daughters. I'm not sure I like the word begot. Did we? Yeah, they've been using begot. I guess. Okay, verse 5. Vayihyu kol yemei Adam asher chai tesha me'ot shana u'shloshim shana vayamot. And there is the samach there telling you that there's a space, a satum, a closed space there in the Bible. Okay. Conjunctive vav, yihyu, we had this just right now, so it's to be in the masculine plural. So maybe it's yamim. It's referring to days. Okay, kol meaning all, right? Kol we've had many times. Kol yamei, and it's in the construct. They're saying in the construct form. I agree. Kol yamei. So yamim is obviously in the construct form because it would be yamim, right? So it's in the masculine plural construct. Yamei, Adam, so that's his name. Asher, that. Chai, so this is the call perfect of to live. Het yod, to live, right, life. Asher chai, which he lived. Tesha, tesha meaning 9. Me'ot, and here 100 is written bemilui. It's written fully with the vav there. Me'ot, and it's in the it's feminine plural. Tesha me'ot shana, hundreds of years, shana. Ushloshim shana va yamot. So conjunctive vav, shloshim, again we had like before 30, written with the yud there completely. Shana, year, we've had before. Conjunctive vav, the yud is telling you it's in the imperfect. Met, mavet, mem, vav, tuf is generally the way that root, we say that root is. So, vayamot, and he died. He passed away. Okay. Verse 5, King James, and all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. NIV, altogether, Adam lived a total of 930 years, and then he died. Chabad, all the days of Adam that he lived were 930 years, and he died. Yep. Not too much to say there. Okay. Vayechi shet chamesh shanim u'ma'at shana vayoled et enosh. Okay. Conjunctive vav, the yud telling you it's in the imperfect. Yechi, right? He lived, right? The root, the root to live is kind of difficult. Chaya, right? Het, yud, hey, possibly I would say. So and lived, shet, that's his name. Hamesh, meaning 5. Shanim, right? So that's the female plural. So shana is the singular. Shanim is the plural. Shanim, years. U'ma'at shanim. So conjunctive vav, and here me'a is in the construct form. U'ma'at shanim, and 100 years. Construct together with shana, years. Chamesh shanim u'ma'at shana. It's a little bit strange why it switches from shanim to shana. I'm guessing Rashi says something there, but okay. Vayoled, so conjunctive vav, and yoled we've had before, to be got, and it's written b'milui with that vav there. Et, direct object marker. Enosh, and that is a name, a proper name, Enosh. That actually probably, I would say, comes from the roots anash, man, right? Ish. Anashim, we say people, is anashim. Enosh. Let's see what King James says about verse 6. And Seth lived 105 years and begat an Enos, I guess. Okay. Verse 6, sorry. In the NIV, when Seth had lived 105 years, he became the father of Enosh. Let's see what the note here is. Father may mean ancestor, also in verses 7 through 26. um, father. I'm not sure what word they're talking. I guess it's the Yoled. It's the begot here, gave cause to be born. Um, he became the father. Okay, let's see what Chabad says. Verse 6. And Seth lived 105 years, and he begot Enosh. Right? And okay. So, verse 7. ויחי שת אחרי הולידו את אנוש 7 שנים ושמונה מאות שנה ויולד בנים ובנות. Right? And you see that, so we have the same construction over and over again. It's a poem. It is a poem. There's alliteration, there's repetition, there is repeating the same construction over and over again. So conjunctive vav, yechi, right? Lived. We've had before. Shet is the name. Achare, we've had again the preposition. I would say in the construct form. Achare holid. We've had achare before. Holido. Here it's written with bemilui vav and milui yud. So the vav and the yud is there. You can make of that what you will. Holido, right? Causing him to be born or begat. Holido, et is the direct object marker. Enosh is his name. Sheva meaning 7. Shanim is years. So last time we had Hamesh Shana. Shanim and Hamesh. Let's see. Previous we said no. It's the same. So Hamesh Shana u'ma'at shanim. Hamesh shanim u'ma'at shana. So first shanim, then shana, and here we have Sheva shanim, first shanim, then shana. Yeah, okay. Shanim. Ushmona, so conjunctive vav. Shmone, sorry, is the feminine singular of 8. Shmone me'ot, 100 written bemilui with the vav there, completely with the vav. Shana, years. Vayoled, so conjunctive vav. Yoled with the vav there. Completely. Banim, right? Banim ubanot, like we had before, sons and daughters. Okay, King James, verse 7, and Seth lived after he begat Enos, I guess, 807 years, and begat sons and daughters. Okay. Verse 7, after he became the father of Enosh, Seth had lived 807 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Okay. Chabad, verse 7, and Seth lived after he had begotten Enosh 807 years, and he begot sons and daughters. Okay, next. Not very complicated verses here. Vayihyu kol yemei shet shtem esre shana ve'utesha me'ot shana va'yamot. And there is a stuma, there's a closed break. Okay? Conjunctive vav, yihyu, they were, we've had yihyu many times. Kol, all of, and kol yemei, construct, kol yemei shet, all the days of shet, yemei being in the construct form as well. Shtem, right? Shtaim is 2. Shtem esre, So Shtem Esrei is 12, right? So they're saying 2 and 10. Shtem Esrei. Shtem Esrei is 12. Shana, years. Utesha me'ot shana. So this time it broke. It's both times it says shana. It says years, year instead of years. Utesha, conjunctive vav. Tesha meaning 9. Me'ot is hundreds, right? Written bemilui here. Shana va yamot. So conjunctive vav, the yud telling you that it is in the imperfect, and mot meaning to die, written here bechisaron, written without the vav in the middle there. Let's see what King James does with verse 8. And all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. Okay. NIV, all together, Seth. So they're doing kol yamei, right? They're translating that kol as all together. Altogether, Seth lived a total of 912 years, and then he died. Okay? Chabad, verse 8, and all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. Okay? Next verse. Vayechi Enosh tish'im shana vayoled et Qainan. Okay? So, conjunctive vav, yechi, he lived, right? The yud there is telling you it's imperfect, and the root is chai, to live. Enosh is his name. Tish'im, right? So tish'a is 9. Tish'im is 90, right? Like we said before, shalosh is 3. Shloshim is 30. Arba is 4. Arbaim is 40. Chamesh is 5. Chamishim is 50. Right? So that's how the Hebrew counting goes. Right? So he lived 90 shana, years. Vayoled, conjunctive vav. The yud is there to tell you it's in the imperfect. And leda, begat, we've had many times. Et, direct object marker. And this is a new name, Qainan, which is somewhat similar to Cain, but a little bit differently, right? So the name is Qof Yud Nun Nun, Qainan. Okay, it's very similar to Cain. Okay. King James, verse 9, and Enos lived 90 years and begat Canaan. NIV, when Enosh had lived 90 years, he became the father of Canaan. Kind of prefer that. And Chabad, and Enosh lived 90 years and begat Canaan. And they transliterated Canaan a little bit differently than the other ones. Verse 10. Vayechi Enosh acharei holido et Canaan 15 shana ושמונה מאות שנה ויולד בנים ובנות. Okay? So, conjunctive vav, the yud telling you that it's imperfect. Chai, to live, right? We've had many times. Enosh is his name. Acharei is the preposition we've had before. Holido, to, right, begat, and this is bemilui vav, bemilui yud. It's complete with the vav and the yud there. Holido, him, right, and the vav at the end says third person masculine singular. Et is the direct object marker. Canaan is the name we just had. Hamesh, meaning 5. esre, meaning 10. So chamesh esre is 15. Okay? Chamesh esre, shana, years. Ushmon, or actually year. Ushmone, so conjunctive vav. Shmone meaning 8. Me'ot, written bemilui with that vav there, or hundreds, right? Shana, again in the singular. Vayoled, conjunctive vav. The yud saying it's imperfect. Vlad, we've had many times. Begat. Banim uvanot, sons and daughters. So very similar to previous verses. Verse 10, King James and Enos lived after he begat Canaan 815 years and begat sons and daughters. Let's see, verse 10, NIV. After he became the father of Canaan, Enosh lived 815 years and had other sons and daughters. Yep. And Chabad, verse 10, and Enosh lived after he had begotten Canaan 815 years, and he begot sons and daughters. Okay, verse 11. Vayihyu kol yemei Enosh chamesh shanim utesha me'ot shana vayamot. Okay, so conjunctive vav, yud tells you that it is imperfect. Hiyu, right, is third person masculine plural of the verb to be, which we've had. Kol meaning all, yemei, right, days in the construct form. Enosh, the name we've had before. Chamesh meaning 5. Shanim, so again, this time it's years, shanim. Utesha me'ot shana, conjunctive vav, tesha meaning 9, me'ot is hundreds, written bemilui with the vav, shana, years. Conjunctive vav, vayamot, conjunctive vav, the yud telling you it's in the imperfect. Met, right, to die, written here bechisaron without the vav there. And there is a stuma, there is a closed space in the scroll. Okay? Verse 11, King James, and all the days of Enos were 905 years, and he died. NIV, altogether, Enosh lived a total of 905 years, and then he died. And Chabad, verse 11, and all the days of Enosh were 905 years, and he died. Okay. Next verse, verse 12. Vayechi Kenan shiv'im shana vayoled et Mehalel. Okay. Conjunctive vav, the yud saying it's imperfect. Chai, to live. We've had many times. Kenan, we've had the name. Shiv'im, right? So Sheva means 7. Shiv'im meaning 70. Shana, year in the singular. Vayoled, conjunctive vav. Yud telling you it's in the imperfect. Vlad, to beget. Et, direct object marker. Mehalalel. So we've had, we haven't had this name before. It's an interesting name. So the root appears to be halel, right? To exalt, like hallelujah, right? We say to praise God, right? Hallel. So this is the root here appears to be that. Mehalel is somebody who praises, and the ending there is one of the holy names of God, like Raphael or Michael, right? So this is the person who praises God, Mehalalel, right? So that is the name there. NIV, King James, verse 12. And Kenan lived 70 years and begat Mehalalel. Okay? Um, so verse 12, NIV, when Kenan had lived 70 years, he became the father of Mehalalel. Okay? Um, Chabad, and Kenan lived 70 years, and he begot Mehalalel. Okay? Next verse, 13. ויחי קנן אחרי הולידו את מהללל 40 שנה ושמונה מאות שנה ויולד בנים ובנות. Very similar to what we've had before. Conjunctive vav, the yud telling you it's imperfect. Chai, to live. Kenan is the name. Acharei, after the preposition. Holido, to give birth. We've had this before. It's ben milui with the vav and the yud, written completely with those letters. Et, direct object marker. Mehalalel, the name we just had. Arbaim, so arba meaning 4, arbaim meaning 40, shana, year in the singular, ushmone, so conjunctive vav, shmone meaning 8, me'ot, hundreds in with the vav, milui vav, completely, shana, year in the singular, vayoled, conjunctive vav, the yud telling you it's imperfect, same form of begat we've had before, banim uvanot, sons and daughters. Very similar to verses we just had. King James, and Canaan lived after he begat Mehalalel, Liel, they're translated differently, 840 years and begat sons and daughters. Okay, verse 13. After he became the father of Mehalalel, Canaan lived 840 years and had other sons and daughters. Okay? Chabad, verse 13, and Canaan lived after he had begotten Mehalalel 840 years, and he begot sons and daughters. Next verse, 14. ויהיו כל ימי קנן 10 שנים ותשע מאות שנה וימות, and there is a stuma, there is a closed space there. So, conjunctive vav, yud telling you that it's in the imperfect. This is the verb to be. We've had this construction many times. Kol meaning all, yemei, days, Kenan, the name we've had before, Eser, meaning 10, Shanim, this is years in the plural, Utesha, Ucha, right, and 9, Me'ot, hundreds with in Bemilui, written completely, Shana, year in the singular, Vayamot, conjunctive vav, the yud telling you it's in the imperfect, and Met, right, to die, written bechisaron, written without the vav. Okay? And yet the yemei, the days here, as you can see, it's bechisaron. There's not yud mem yud. Okay. Verse 14. Altogether, Canaan lived a total of 910 years, and then he died. Verse 14. And all the days of Canaan were 910 years, and he died. Let's see what Chabad has. Verse 14. And all the days of Canaan were 910 years, and he died. Okay. Verse 15. ויחי מהללל 5 שנים ו60 שנה ויולד את ירד. Okay? Conjunctive vav, the yud telling you it's an imperfect. Chai, the verb to live. Mehalalel, the name just had. Chamesh meaning 5. Shanim, years in the plural. Ve shishim, conjunctive vav. Shesh means 6. Shishim meaning 60. Shana, year in the singular. Vayoled, conjunctive vav. Yud, telling you that it is in the imperfect. The verb begat, as we've had several times. Et, the direct object marker. Yared. Don't let that confuse you that it's Yared here. That is because it's at the end of the sentence. It is the same name as Yered. So Yared, Yered, it's the same verb. It's the same word. It's the same name. Based on where it is in the sentence, it becomes Yared, Yud Resh Dalet, which means to go down. Okay. So, verse 15 in King James, and Mahalalel lived 60 and 5 years and begat Jared. Okay. Verse 15, when Mahalalel had lived 65 years, he became the father of Jared. Okay. And Chabad, verse 15, and Mahalalel lived 65 years and begot Jared. Okay. Next verse, 16. Vayechi Mahalalel acharei holido et Yered 30 shana ושמונה מאות shana vayoled banim ubanot. Okay. So similarly, we have conjunctive vav, the yud telling you it's an imperfect. Chai, to live. Mehalalel is the name. Acharei is after. Holido, again written completely with the vavs. Holid, to begot, we've had. And the third person masculine singular at the end. Et, being the direct object marker. Yered. So you'll notice, right, at the beginning of at the end of the sentence we said Yared. In the middle of the sentence we say Yered. Same name, Jared. The difference is because where it is in the sentence. Shloshim, right? We've had 30 before. Shalosh meaning 3. Shloshim meaning 30. Shana, year in the singular. Conjunctive vav, ushmone, and 8. Me'ot, hundreds, with the vav in milui completely. Shana, year in the singular. Conjunctive vav, vayoled, the yud telling you it's in the imperfect. And begot. Banim uvanot, banim meaning sons. Conjunctive vav, vanot meaning daughters. Very similar to previous verses. Verse 16 in the King James, and Mahalalel lived after he begat Jared 830 years and begat sons and daughters. Right? In NIV 16, after he became the father of Jared, Mahalalel lived 830 years and had other sons and daughters. Chabad, verse 16. And Mahalalel lived after he had begotten Jared 830 years, and he begot sons and daughters. Very similar verses. Okay, verse 17. Vayihyu kol yemei Mahalalel 95 shana ushmone me'ot shana vayamot. And there's a stuma, there's a closed space there. Okay? So, conjunctive vav, yud telling you it's in the imperfect. Yihyu is in the third person masculine plural of to be, right? So we're kol, meaning all, yemei, days. Mahalalel is the name. Hamesh, meaning 5. Vetishim, so conjunctive vav. Tesha meaning 9, Tishim meaning 90, Shana, year in the singular, Ushmone, so conjunctive vav. Shmone meaning 8. Me'ot meaning hundreds. Shana, year in the singular. Vayamot, conjunctive vav. Yud, telling you that it is an imperfect. Met, meaning death. Very similar to what we've had before. And there is a closed space in the scroll. King James, verse 17. And all the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, and he died. Verse 17 in the NIV, altogether Mahalalel lived a total of 895 years, and then he died. And Chabad, verse 17, and all the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, and he died. Okay, next verse, 18. Vayechi yered shtayim veshishim shana u'ma'at shana vayoled et Hanoch. Okay, so conjunctive vav, yud telling it's an imperfect. The verb is chai, to live. Yered, Jared, right? The name we've had made before. Shtayim, meaning 2. Ve shishim, conjunctive vav. Shesh, meaning 6. Shishim, meaning 60. Shana, singular of year. U'me'at, so conjunctive vav. Me'a, meaning 100, right? But here it is in the construct form, so the hey at the end is turning into the taf. U'me'at shana, right? 100 year, and year is in the singular. Vayoled, conjunctive vav. Yud telling you it's in the imperfect. And bigat, we've had many times. Et, direct object marker. Hanoch, and I believe this may be the first time we've had the name Hanoch. Think so? Not sure. Let's check. No, in verse. Yeah, I thought I remembered it. It is in Genesis verse 4:17, right? So we're discussing. So I guess he named him after his great-great-grandfather? 4 Israelites, sons of Cain, Jared, Midian, and Reuben. So it's actually a common name even today, Hanoch. Right? Kind of translated as learned. Okay, so common name in the Bible, Enoch. They're translating it. Okay, verse 18 in the King James. And Jared lived an 862 years, and he begat Enoch. Okay, verse 18 NIV. Then when Jared had lived 162 years, he became the father of Enoch. Okay, Chabad, verse 18, and Jared lived 162 years, and he begot Enoch. Right. Okay, next verse, 19. Vayechi Yered acharei holido et Hanoch 800 shana vayoled banim ubanot. Very similar to previous sentences. Conjunctive vav. The yud telling you it's an imperfect. The verb is chai, to live. Yered, the name Jared. Acharei, after. Holido, right? In the infinitive of to give birth, with the vav and the yud, written completely with both vav and yud. Holido, he begat. Et is the direct object marker. Hanoch, Enoch. Enoch. Shmone, meaning 8. Me'ot, meaning hundreds, with the vav, bemilui, completely. Excuse me. Shana, year in the singular. Vayoled, conjunctive vav, yud telling you that it is in the imperfect. Begat, we've had before. Banim, uvanot, sons and daughters. Okay. King James, verse 19. And Jared lived after he begat Enoch 800 years and begat sons and daughters. Verse 19 NIV. After he became the father of Enoch, Jared lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters. Let's look at Chabad, verse 19. And Jared lived after he had begotten Enoch 800 years, and he begot sons and daughters. Okay, next verse. 20. Vayihyu kol yemei Yered shtayim veshishim shana utesha me'ot shana vayamot. And the punctuation is petucha. There is an open space in the scroll. So conjunctive vav, yud telling you that it is in the imperfect. Hayu, so this is the third person masculine plural of to be. Kol meaning all. Yemei, days in the construct form. Yered, the name Jared we've had before. Shtayim meaning two. Veshishim, conjunctive vav. Shesh meaning 6. Shishim meaning 60. Shana, year in the singular. Utsha, right, conjunctive vav. Tesha meaning 9. Me'ot being hundreds in the plural with the vav written completely. Bemilui, shana, year in the singular. Vayamot, conjunctive vav. The yud telling you it's an imperfect. Mot meaning to die without the vav. We've had many times. And there is an open space. There's a petucha within the scroll. Okay? King James, verse 20, and all the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died. In the NIV, altogether, Jared lived a total of 962 years, and then he died. Okay? And Chabad, verse 20, and all the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died. Okay. Next verse. Vayechi Chanoch 5 shana vayoled et Metushalach. Okay. So conjunctive vav, the yud telling it's an imperfect. Chai, so to live in the third person masculine singular. Chanoch is the name. Chamesh meaning 5. Ve shishim, so conjunctive vav. Shesh meaning 6. Shishim meaning 60. Shana, year in the singular. Va yoled, so conjunctive vav. The yud telling you it's an imperfect. Begat, many times. Et, direct object marker. Metushalach, right? And so Methuselah is how it's usually done, and because so Metushelach is actually how you would say it if it wasn't at the end of the sentence, but because it is at the end of the sentence, it becomes Metushalach. So the root seems to be to send. Shalach, shin lamed het. Metushalach. I would probably translate it as the person who was sent. but you can do with proper names as you wish. So let's see, verse 21. And Enoch lived 65 years and begat Methuselah. Right? Verse 21 in the NIV. When Enoch had lived 65 years, he became the father of Methuselah. And Chabad, verse 21, and Enoch lived 65 years and he begot Methuselah. Okay. Verse 22. ויתהלך חנוך את האלוהים אחרי הולידו את מתושלח 300 שנה ויולד בנים ובנות. So this is the first time, this is breaking with the other verses we've just had. So conjunctive vav, right? And this verb, the root is he lamed het. Chaf, sorry, not het. Meaning to go. And actually, I think we had v'yithalech before in the Bible. It's in the hitpael, in the reflexive, right? And he caused himself to walk, right? V'yithalech in the reflexive. So the yud at the beginning is telling you that it's in the imperfect, right? V'yithalech Chanoch, Enoch, et conjunctive. So this is usually the direct object marker, but here they're saying it's a preposition, meaning with. I'm not sure I kind of agree with that. I think it's possible to say he caused God to walk with him. I don't think that's too blasphemous to say that Hanoch caused God to walk with him. Ha Elokim, so that is the article he, and the name Elokim we've had many times. Acharei, after. Holido, right? To begat, the vav at the end is telling you third person masculine singular. He caused to be born. Holido. Et, right? A direct object marker. Metushelach. So this is the form in the middle of a sentence. Methuselah, right? Metushelach. Shalosh, meaning 3. Me'ot, meaning hundreds, with the vav in Bibinui completely. Shana, year in the singular. Vayoled, conjunctive vav. Yud telling you it's an imperfect. Vlad, right, to begat. Banim uvanot, sons and daughters, like we've had many times. Let's see, 522 in King James. And Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years and begat sons and daughters, right? And so that walked here does not show the reflexive form. Let's see how verse 22 is in the NIV. After he became the father of Methuselah, Enoch walked faithfully with God, right? So they're translating Veitalech et ha'elokim, right, into faithfully. Okay, let's see what Chabad does with that. And Enoch walked with God, and he verse 22, we haven't read that far. And Enoch walked with God after he had begotten Methuselah 300 years, and he begot sons and daughters. Alright. I just want to make sure. No, okay, I am very sorry. I was reading verse 24. Verse 22 in the NIV. after he became the father of Methuselah, Enoch walked faithfully. So they are doing Veitalech, walked faithfully with God 300 years and had other sons and daughters. Okay. Just want to make sure I'm reading the right verse. Wouldn't want to read the wrong verse. Okay. ויהיו כל ימי חנוך 560 שנה ו300 שנה. Okay, so conjunctive vav, you're telling you it's an imperfect. The verb is to be, right? Kol, all, yemei, days in the construct form. Chanoch is the name Enoch. Chamesh meaning 5. Veshishim, conjunctive vav. Shesh meaning 6. So shishim means 60. Shana, year in the singular. Ushalosh, conjunctive vav. Shalosh meaning 3. Me'ot, hundreds with that vav b'milui, written completely. Shana, singular form of year. Verse 23, King James, and all the days of Enoch were 360 and 5 years. Right? And Chabad, verse 23, and all the days of Enoch were 365 years. Okay? Let's go to verse 24. ויתהלך חנוך את האלוקים ואיננו כי לקח אותו אלוקים. And there's a pitucha there, very interesting sentence. So, in a very famous verse in the Bible, conjunctive starts with the conjunctive vav, v'yithalech. So we have the hitpa'el form of to walk, the reflexive form as in verse, I believe was 22. Chanoch, Enoch, et here is being translated as with, it's the direct object marker. Ha Elokim, so the article and then the name Elokut, right? One of the holy names. Ve'eineno, okay? So conjunctive vav, einenu. So ein means there is not. I believe we had ayin before, right? Yesh mi ayin ex nihilo. We talked about that, how it means to not be. Einenu, it makes it third person masculine singular. Einenu was not, he was not. Einenu. That is a slightly peculiar form because it's. I actually think you could say that that's in the third person. No, in the first person plural. Einenu. We are not. I wonder if that's what Rashi is talking about. We'll look at it. They're saying he was not, and I'm not sure I agree with that. That would be einenu. He was not. Einenu would be we were not. Let's see if the concordance. Yeah, it's just going on the word ayin, which we had in Genesis 2. Adam ayin, right? Very interesting. I'm dying to see what Rashi says. Okay, verse 24 in the King James, and Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took it. Oh, we didn't finish the sentence. I'm sorry. As you can tell, I really want to get to that Rashi. Ki, for, right? Conjunctive ki, because. Lakach, right? We've had this verb before. Lamed kof het, right? In the kal perfect, right? In the simplest form, past completed, took, right? Lakach oto, right? Et being the direct object marker, him, right? So because took him, Elohim, right? God, the name of God, because God took him, right? Um, and it ends with an open space in the scroll, a petucha. Okay, let's look at the King James for verse 24. And God walked with, and Enoch God walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Okay, let's see what verse 24 in the NIV. Enoch walked faithfully. So they're saying that the verb yithalech, right, to cause to walk with God, they're translating it because it is reflexive with the word faithfully with God. And then he was no more because God took him away. I don't know where they got away from, but they did. Let's see what Chabad says. And Enoch walked with God, and he was no longer, for God had taken him. I'm going to read the Rashi here because I'm really interested. And God walked. He was a righteous man, but he could easily be swayed to return to do evil. So that's how how he's explaining to walk, yeah, right? That reflexive verb meaning to walk, actually they're translate. So Rashi is saying not like the NIV that it means to walk faithfully, to cause God to walk with him, but it actually means that he's a wavering type person. Therefore, the Holy One, blessed be he, hastened and took him away and caused him to die before his time. For this reason, Scripture changed the wording in the account of his demise and wrote, and he was no longer in the world to complete his years. Right? Ve'enenu. So this is from the Midrash Rabbah, right? It's from the Genesis Rabbah, from the Tanaim. Don't know what to say. For God had taken him before his time, like in Ezekiel 24:16. Behold, I am taking from you the desire of your eyes, and that also comes from Bereshit Rabbah, Genesis Rabbah, from the Midrash. Interesting. I might at some point look this verse up in the other commentaries. I mean, it's a verse that comes up a lot of times, but yeah, there we go. Let's keep on going. Verse 25. Vayichi metushelach sheva ushmonim shana u'ma'at shana vayoled et lamech. Okay? So, conjunctive vav, yud telling you that it's an imperfect. The verb is to live. Metushelach, Methuselah. Sheva, meaning 7. Ushmonim, so conjunctive vav. Shmone means 8. Shmonim means 80. Shana, year in the singular. U'ma'at, so conjunctive vav, and 100 is mea, but this is in the construct form, so the hey turns into a taf. Shana, year in the singular. Vayoled, so conjunctive vav, yud telling you it's an imperfect. Bigat, we've had many times. Et is the direct object marker. Lamech, and I believe we had this name before, and it was lemech, right? But because it is at the end of the sentence, it becomes lamech, right? But it's the same name as lemech when written in the Middle of the sentence. Okay, verse 25. And Methuselah lived 187 years and begat Lamech. Okay, verse 25 in the NIV. When Methuselah had lived 187 years, he became the father of Lamech. Okay, Chabad, verse 25. And Methuselah lived 187 years, and he begot Lamech. Okay, verse 26. ויחי מתושלח אחרי הולידו את למך 82 שנה ו700 שנה ויולד בנים ובנות. Very similar to previous sentences we've had. Conjunctive vav, it's telling you it is in the imperfect. The verb is high, to live, metushelach, meaning Methuselah. And I think Methuselah has always been, I just want to check. Yeah, we always write Methuselah with that vav. Yeah, it's always been written with the vav. Okay? Verse 26. Metushelach acharei, after, holido, right? Again, he begat. We've had in this form many times. It's milui, has all the vavs and the yuds. Et is the direct object marker. And so the name Lemech is in the middle of the verse. So it's Lemech, not Lamech. Still same name. Shtaim, 2. Ushmonim, conjunctive vav. Shmonim, shmone means 8. Shmonim meaning 80. Shana meaning years, year in singular. Ushva, so conjunctive vav. Shva meaning 7, but this is in the construct with me'ot, right? Shva me'ot. So me'ot meaning hundreds, right? Shva me'ot, so 700. With the vav below complete. Shana meaning year in the singular. Vayoled, conjunctive vav. Yod telling you it's an imperfect. Volad, he begat. We've had many times. Banim meaning sons. Uvanot, conjunctive vav. Vanot meaning daughters. Okay? Same as many previous verses. Verse 26 in the King James. And Methuselah lived after he begat Lamech 782 years and begat sons and daughters. Right? Verse 26 in the NIV. After he became the father of Lamech, Methuselah lived 782 years and had other sons and daughters. Okay? Chabad, verse 26. And Methuselah lived after he had begotten Lamech 782 years, and he begot sons and daughters. Very similar to previous verses. Okay. Vayihyu kol yemei Metushelach tesha veshishim shana utesha me'ot shana vayamot. Petucha, there is an open space in the scroll. Okay, conjunctive vav, yihyu, right, and were in the plural. The yud telling you it's an imperfect, and this is the verb to be in the third person masculine plural. All right, that vav is in the plural. Kol, meaning all. Yemei, meaning the days, in the construct form. Metushelach, right, so Methuselah. Tesha, meaning 9. Shishim, conjunctive vav. Shesh meaning 6, so Shishim means 60. Shana, year in the singular. Utsha, right, conjunctive vav. Tesha, meaning 9. Me'ot, and it's in the construct form. Me'ot, meaning hundreds, with that vav completely. Shana, year in the singular. Vayamot, conjunctive vav. The yud telling you it's imperfect, and the verb is to die, right? We've had this many times, and there is an open space in the Bible. So, verse 27 in the King James, and all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. Okay? And verse 27 in the NIV, altogether Methuselah lived 969 years, and then he died. Okay? Verse 27, Chabad, and all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. Yep. Oh, that's an interesting Rashi there. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the Rashis. You know, when when you have verses which are very similar, sometimes you look towards the Rashis because it's really hard as a person to take notice of any small differences in all these verses which are very similar to each other. And that's one of the reasons I really like to look at the Rashis, especially in verses which are very similar to each other. So that's why I'm so eager to read the Rashis. Vayehi lemech shtayim ushmonim shana uma'at shana vayoled ben. Okay, so conjunctive vav, yud telling you it's in the imperfect. Hai, right, is the verb to live. Lemech, right, is his name. Shtaim, meaning two. Ushmonim, so conjunctive vav. Shmone means 8. Shmonim means 80. Shana, year in the singular. Uma'at, so conjunctive vav. Me'a means 100, but it's in the construct form, so the hey turns into taf. Shana, meaning year in the singular. Vayoled, so conjunctive vav. Yud telling you that it is in the imperfect. Lad, right, is the begat we've had many times. Ben, and he gave birth to a son. Okay, and let's look at verse 28 in the King James. And Lamech lived 182 years and begat a son. In the NIV, when Lamech had lived 182 years, he had a son. Okay? And Chabad, verse 28, and Lamech lived 182 years and he begot a son. And I just want to read the Rashi here. Vayolad ben, and he had a son. The Hebrew ben comes from whom the world was built, nibna, right? So he says ben here, right? Bet non. So he's saying it comes from nivna boneh, means to build, right? And that's from the Tanhuma Bereshit. That is a midrash. The midrash Tanhuma Bereshit 11 from the Tanakh. Okay. Verse 29. Vayikra et shemo Noach lemor ze yenahamenu mi ma'asenu ume'etzbon yadenu min ha'adama asher erach havaya. Okay, interesting sentence. Conjunctive vav, yud telling you it's in the imperfect. Kara, kuf resh aleph, meaning to call. Et is the direct object marker. Shemo, shem meaning name. The vav at the end meaning third person masculine singular. His name, Noach, right? So in English we say Noah. In Hebrew it's Noach. It's with a het at the end. And Noach So the verb will have yenahamenu, right? So nahem means to rest. Noah means to rest. Nahem. We'll get there. Le'emor, saying, right? So prepositional lamed, emor. The verb is aleph mem resh, to say, and they're saying it's right, infinitive. Le'emor, yeah. Ze, right? This. It's the pronoun, first person masculine singular. I mean, not first person. It's in the masculine singular of this, right? Ze yenahamenu. So the yud at the end and beginning is telling you that it is in the imperfect. They're saying the verb is in the PL, right? Nahamenu. So Nahem, right? So again, it's up to you what you think the three-letter root here is. Probably Haman, right? Nun, het, mem, Nahem, right? To comfort. Ze yenahamenu, right? And the nu at the end meaning us. First person collective plural. First person common plural, sorry. Yenahamenu, mi ma'asenu. So prepositional mem, ma'aseh, right? So the root here is ayin sin he, to do. Ma'aseh, right, turns it into a noun. Okay, so aseh is to do, ma'asenu means our, and the hey kind of, I guess, it turns into the nun here, nu, first person common plural. Mim ma'asenu, from our work, from what we have done concerning our work. U me'etz itzbon, right? So conjunctive vav, prepositional mem, etzev, ayin, tzadi, bet, right? Toil, I guess. We've had it before in the Bible. Itzbon, right? And this is itzbon, turning it into a noun, I guess. Itzbon. Interesting. I mean, I would recommend looking at the concordance. It's always good to look at the concordance. But Yadenu, right? Yadayim means hands, but here, because it's our hands, it's Yadenu, our hands. Min, because they're saying because means from. Ha-adama, right? So that is the article, and adama I've been translating as clay. Asher, right? So that's which, that. Ar-era, right? So arur we had before, the root aleph resh, meaning to curse. Era, right? So this, they're saying it's in the PL, and the hey at the end meaning her, right? Adama being feminine, which God cursed her. Era Havaya, right? And we are using the Tetragrammaton, the name, the ineffable name. Okay, let's look at verse 29 in the King James. And he called his name Noah, saying, this same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because of the ground which the Lord hath cursed. Okay? NIV verse 29. He named him Noah and said, he will comfort us in the labor and painful toil of our hands caused by the ground the Lord has cursed. Yeah, I prefer that. Let's look at the root. Noach sounds like the Hebrew for comfort, right? Noach and Menachem, right? Nahem, to comfort. And that's what Rashi is saying here, which you can read yourself. Okay, and he named him Noah, saying, "This one will give us rest from our work and from the toil of our hands, from the ground which the Lord has cursed." Yep. Okay, verse 30. ויחי למך אחרי הולידו את נוח 95 שנה ו500 שנה ויולד בנים ובנות. Very similar to previous verses we've had, but let's go through it. Conjunctive vav, yud telling you it's an imperfect, chai, live, lemech is the name, acharei, after, holido, he begat, very same as before, et, direct object marker, Noach is his name, hamesh means 5, vetishim, conjunctive vav, tesha means 9, so tishim means 90, shana, year in the singular, vachamesh, so conjunctive vav, hamesh means 5, me'ot, so, the me'ot here is written bechisaron. Haha, finally. Me'ot means hundreds, right? And here it's written bechisaron, it's written without the vav. I want you to get a flavor for the Hebrew. That's why I keep on telling you the chisaron and the milui, because, when people look at the rabbinic commentaries, a lot of times it looks like they're being very careful about all the small things, and they are. And because, the rabbinic tradition comes from the Sofrim, comes from the scribes, so they paid very close attention to every single letter. Me'ot, shana, year in the singular, vayoled, so conjunctive vav, yud tells you it's an imperfect, oled, right, begat, banim, sons, uvanot, conjunctive vav, banot meaning girls. Same as previous verses. Let's look at the King James on 30. And Lamech lived after he begat Noah 595 years and begat sons and daughters. Very nice. NIV. After Noah was born, Lamech lived 595 years and had other sons and daughters. And Chabad, verse 30, and Lamech lived after he had begotten Noah 595 years, and he begot sons and daughters. Next, verse 31. Vayehi kol yemei lemech sheva v'shiv'im shana ushva me'ot shana vayamot. And setuma, there is a closed space in the scroll. So, conjunctive vav, yud telling you it's imperfect. He, right, and this is in the masculine singular, to be. Kol, all of, yemei, days, lemech is his name, sheva, meaning 7, veshiv'im, so conjunctive vav, shiv'im meaning 70, right, because sheva means 7 and shiv'im means 70, shana, year in the singular, ushva, so conjunctive vav, shva being in the construct form, me'ot, so that's hundreds. And here, this time it's written b'milui. It's written completely with the vav. Shana, year in the singular, vayamot. Conjunctive vav, yud telling you it's an imperfect. Mem tet, meaning died. And there is a setuma, there is a closed space in the Bible there. Okay. 531 King James, and all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. So, NIV, altogether, Lamech lived a total of 777 years, and then he died. Chabad, and all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. Okay? Last verse in the chapter. Vayehi Noach ben 500 shana, vayoled Noach et Shem, et Ham, ve'et Yafet. Okay? Conjunctive Vav, Yud, telling you it's an imperfect. This is the verb to be in the third person masculine singular. Noach is his name. Ben. So one of the ways we say in Hebrew that somebody is something, right? So if I want to say that somebody is 9 years old, I'll say he's Ben Tesha, right? He is the son of 9, meaning that he is a person of, right? So here it's the word son of, but here it's being used to tell us how old he was, right? So, Vehi Noach ben 500, he was 500. Hamesh means 5. Me'ot is hundreds here written ben milui. Shana, meaning years, in the singular. Vayoled, so conjunctive Vav. Yud, telling you it's in the imperfect. Bigat, that we've had many times. Noach, right? Noah is his name. Et is the direct object marker. Shem, so his name actually means name, right? So Shem means name, but the name of Shem was Shem. Shem's name is name. So it gets a little confusing, but Et Ham, right? So direct object marker. Ham literally means hot, but it's translated as ham. Ve'et, so conjunctive Vav, the et being the direct object marker. Yafet, so it's transliterated Japhet here, I guess. So a lot of the J's, so the reason the Yuds, right, like my name, Jacob, right, is Yaakov. Why did it turn into a J? Because the first Bibles that were translated into the German, and the letter J in the German is said like Y, Yud, right? So Yaakov was written in the German Yaakov, right? And it's still Yaakov in the German. But then the people who were translating from the German to the English left the names as they were in the German, and by confusion, suddenly they turned into J's in the English version. So Yaakov becomes Jacob, Yafet becomes Japheth, right? Yoel becomes Joel, right? Yoav becomes Job, right? Lots and lots of J's, which really are Y's. Okay, so last verse in the King James. And Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begat Shem, Ham, and Japhet. Okay, and in the NIV, after Noah was 500 years old, he became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japhet. Okay, so Chabad, And Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begot Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So let's go ahead and read the Rashi. He's going over the fact that we say that he was a 500-year-old, right? It says why is it going that way? Said Rabbi Yehuda, right? So this is Rabbi Yehuda. Actually, Yudan. No, that's not Rabbi Yehuda. That's Rabbi Yudan. Rabbi Yudan. I'm not exactly sure. Oh, it's from the Genesis Rabbah, right? Yudan, what is the reason that all the generations begot children at the approximate age of approximately 100 years, and this one, Noah, had children at the age of 500 years? Said the Holy One, blessed be He, if they, his children, are wicked, they will perish in the flood, and it will be bad for this righteous man. And if they are righteous, I will have to burden him with making many arks. And if they are righteous, right. So if he had children early, so God could tell that there was this generation which would have many evil people in it and would require the flood. So God let him have children when he was 500 years old. He was, right? He was really old, as opposed to the other ones who had children when they were young. And the reason is if the children were bad people, they would die in the flood, and if they were good people, then they and their children would require many arks. So he closed his fountain, and he did not beget. That's a euphemism to meaning, right? God made it so that he could not have children, and he did not beget children until the age of 500, so that Japheth, his eldest son, should not be liable for punishment from the floods, right? So the age of Ben Onesh is actually, I believe, in the Torah 20. I mean, in the oral law is 25. Could say as young as 13. This is as it was written, Isaiah 65:20. For the youth who is 100 years old shall die. Isaiah 25. Ki hana'ar ben me'a shana yimot. U're'ui la'onesh la'atid. He will be liable for punishment in the future. And so it was before the giving of the Torah. So apparently, before the giving of the Torah, it was 100 years, which, I mean, I guess that's from Isaiah 20. Lo yeh misham od ul yamim v'zaken asher lo yimale et yamav ki hana'ar ben me'a shana yamut v'hachote ben me'a shana yekulal. I don't know this chapter very well. You can look it up there. Interesting. I'm going to say, I mean, obviously this isn't a Rashi thing. Now, was not Japheth the oldest? Why did he mention? But first you talk about the one that was righteous, from whom Abraham. Right. So why? Okay. So okay. You can look up there if you like, and those are the verses. I hope this has been useful to you, and as the verse says, Ki az epoch el amim safa berura likro chulam b'shem havaya le'odo shchem echad, right? Subhanya 3:9, which is the verse which really inspired me to this. For then I shall turn, I will restore to the nations, right? All the nations. Safa berra, a clear, pure language, to call all of them in the name of the Lord, right? Shem Havaya, La'ovdo, to serve him, Shechem Echad, with one shoulder, with one accord. Amen. Hope this has been a blessing to you, and it has been a blessing to me, and we shall have benefit from it. Till next time, Shalom.